bet it's number two. I really do. And this is an interesting twist. Trump says it wasn't him who tried to overturn the election, even though they have him on tape doing just that. It was them.
They rigged the election. The election was rigged. I didn't rig it. They did.
He's actually right about some of that. He didn't rig the election. He tried to rig the election. I control the weather. They would have made sure a house landed directly on you, you dement. For 60 days prior to an election, the Department of Injustice is supposed to do absolutely nothing that would taint or interfere with said election.
Coming up, we've got the juiciest bits from the Trump versus Kimmel showdown. You'll hear about Trump's failed attempt to silence comedy, Kimmel's savage comebacks, and why MTG thought calling the cops on a joke was a good idea. But that's not all. We'll also reveal how this whole debacle actually boosted Kimmel's ratings, and why comedians everywhere are thanking Trump for the endless material. Don't touch that dial. The laughs are just getting started. So Trump thought he could silence Jimmy Kimmel by ringing up Disney. Yeah, that worked out great for him.
Close. All caps in America hit Truth Social hard last night. Trump is highly upset about the 165 pages of incriminating evidence the judge released yesterday. I control the weather. They would have made sure a house landed directly on you, you dement.
And the voters, they get it. They've read it, they get it. And it's already come out. Every single channel is calling it election interference. Ready?
Picture this. Trump's team decides the best way to handle a comedian making jokes is to call up his bosses and complain. Real mature, right? But wait, it gets better. The White House didn't just make one call. Nope, they kept dialing Disney execs like it was some kind of bizarre telethon. Can you imagine being a Disney executive picking up the phone and hearing an angry government official whining about a late night host's jokes? Talk about a Mickey Mouse operation. Here's the kicker. Trump, the guy who's always yapping about free speech, tried to muzzle a comedian. It's like a vegetarian opening a steakhouse. The irony is thicker than Trump's makeup. This is the same dude who once proclaimed, "We will always protect free speech." Always, huh?
He details every step, she detailed every step of the attempt to overthrow the election because it's so close to the election.
They rigged the election. The election was rigged. I didn't rig it. They did.
He's actually right about some of that. He didn't rig the election. He tried to rig the election. The two who tried to stop me are Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who actually called the cops on me and failed to rig the election. He's a rignoramus is what he is.
Guess that doesn't apply when the jokes are about him. So how did Disney respond to this presidential tantrum? Did they cave into the pressure? Did Mickey and Goofy show up at Kimmel's door with a cease and desist order? Not quite. In fact, Disney basically told the White House to take a long walk off a short pier. Politely, of course. They weren't about to let some grumpy Trumpy dictate their programming. But our orange friend wasn't done yet. Oh no, his temper tantrum was just warming up. It's like when a toddler doesn't get his way and decides to up the ante. You know it's gonna get messy, but you can't look away.
I bet it's number two, I really do. And this is an interesting twist. Trump says it wasn't him who tried to overturn the election, even though they have him on tape doing just that. It was them. They disobeyed their own rule in favor of complete and total election interference. I did nothing wrong. They did. They raving and ranting about the media and immigrants and windmills. Again, he hates windmills. He complained in front of a bunch of Teamsters about how much he hates paying overtime. He went on about crowd size and how Biden is to blame for his crowds not being big. And then his teleprompter went out.
Trump's brilliant plan to silence Kimmel, it backfired so hard it practically broke the sound barrier. Instead of shutting Kimmel up, it gave him more material than a fabric store. People on social media had a field day mocking Trump's thin skin. It was like Christmas came early for comedy writers. And Kimmel, well, let's just say he wasn't about to let this golden opportunity slip away. He was gearing up to roast Trump harder than a coffee bean in a heat wave. But that's a story for our next act. Picture this, a comedian armed with nothing but a microphone versus a former president with the power to call Disney execs. Sounds like a mismatch, right? Wrong. Kimmel was about to show Trump why you never pick a fight with someone who tells jokes for a living. When Kimmel found out about Trump's attempt to silence him, he didn't get mad. He got even, and by even, we mean he cooked up a comedy roast so hot it could have melted Trump's spray tan right off. Kimmel decided to fight fire with jokes, and boy did he bring the heat. In his monologue, Kimmel pointed out the irony of the situation, saying, "The first time Donald Trump ever tries to stop someone from talking about him on television, and it's me." It's like Trump forgot that comedians live for this kind of drama. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. It only makes the flames bigger and brighter. Kimmel didn't hold back. He dubbed Trump President Snowflake and suggested he change his campaign slogan to "Make America Whine Again."
For 60 days prior to an election, the Department of Injustice is supposed to do absolutely nothing that would taint or interfere with said election. The case is a scam. Trump is what, 78 years old? You think he knows he can double tap the shift button on his phone?
The teleprompter just went out.
Eric and Don Jr. would know how to handle jokes, but I guess not. The only
Ouch! That's gotta sting more than a bad hair transplant. But Kimmel wasn't done yet. He even invited Trump to appear on his show, but with a twist. Trump would have to agree to be inside an arcade claw machine. Now that's a pay-per-view event I'd shell out for. As news of Kimmel's epic takedown spread, social media exploded like a can of Diet Coke shaken by tiny hands. Supporters flooded the internet with praise, with one fan declaring, "Kimmel for president, at least he can take a joke." Unlike some people we know,
They rigged the election.
the old he who smelt it Delta defense.
They rigged the election. I didn't rig the election. They rigged the election. What they do is they rig the election and then they go around getting people and persecuting people and prosecuting people that did nothing wrong.
Nothing. I wonder what it was specifically that sparked this, his Trumper.
Kimmel's ratings shot through the roof, faster than Trump's blood pressure at a salad bar. It turns out that trying to silence a comedian is about as effective as using a comb over to hide a bald spot. It just draws more attention to the problem. In the end, Trump's attempt to shut Kimmel up backfired so spectacularly, it was like watching a clown car crash in slow motion. It's a classic case of the Streisand effect. Try to hide something, and suddenly everyone's talking about it. Kimmel didn't just defend free speech, he turned it into a comedy goldmine. So remember kids, in the battle between thin-skinned politicians and quick-witted comedians, the jokes always win. And Trump, well, he might want to stick to his day job. Oh wait, so what have we learned from this epic showdown between Trump and Kimmel? Well, for starters, you can't cancel laughter. Trump tried to silence Kimmel, but all he did was give the comedian more material to work with. It's like trying to put out a fire with hairspray. It just makes the flames bigger and funnier. This whole debacle actually made comedy and free speech stronger. It's like Trump accidentally watered the garden of satire, and now it's blooming with jokes about his thin skin and bad hair. Who knew the former president could be such a great comedy fertilizer? In the end, when it comes to thin-skinned politicians versus quick-witted comedians, the jokes always win. It's like bringing a water balloon to a comedy roast. You're gonna get soaked and everyone's gonna laugh. So remember folks, laughter is the best medicine, especially when it comes to treating a bad case of political ego.